Hi, hello, and welcome, or welcome back, I suppose. Something a little bit fun today, because I like going on rants. And it is also the first Bad Rep Book Club of 2023. So, I'm thinking of making this a monthly occurrence. This is how I used to do Bad Rep Book Club when I was doing it for Bits, Bobs and Books. It was once a month, and I think I can do that for the channel again, because I can generally read these books alongside something else. I mean, I had to read this book slightly quicker because somebody had reserved it at the library, because it's a relatively new book, so it's quite in demand. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, but I don't care about spoilers right now. So, this is also working a bit differently to how I'd usually do Bad Rep Book Club. Usually, I will go through the book either chapter by chapter, how I did with Spanish Love Deception, or previously I've just gone through the book saying this is what happens and here's my opinions and this is what happens. And I think I kind of preferred doing it chapter by chapter, but I'm not sure. I think overall, in terms of fluid reviewing, it does work better if I do here's the plot with a review alongside it, which is how most people review bad books. Look at the way Jenny Nicholson's reviewed a few bad books, notably Trigger Warning, which is on my list, and Elise, when she's done reviews as well, she does it like this. So it's how I'm going to do it in the future, but today we're doing it differently because I didn't have the time to plan this out properly, because I don't have the book for any more than a couple of days, and I forgot as I started this that this is going to be Bad Rep Book Club, so I wasn't keeping my notes in order of where I was in the book when I was making them. So usually, even if I've not put a quote down, if I make a note of whatever, I will still put the page number that I'm on when I am reading it, or when I've written that note, just to keep me knowing where I am. But as of filming this, tomorrow I'm going out. I am getting a specific notebook for Bad Rep Book Club, and I am then getting some of those little sticky tabs. So, because that's how I did the last few rounds of Bad Rep Book Club, I just had sticky tabs throughout the book and then in my notebook as well, because then I just matched them up. And I think that's a good way to go about it. And I don't know which one I'm doing next. I think my plan for the next one is to basically do a speedy rundown of the plot of Twilight without review, because I've done that before, and then I will do a new moon Bad Rep Book Club. So my plan for that is to do a Tuesday and Thursday video. So Tuesday, quick catch up. Thursday, new moon. Or I will do the same thing, but for the first two 50 Shades books, and then review the final one. Let me know in the comments below whether you want to see New Moon first, or the wrap up for Twilight first. But today, we are covering the internet's bestie, Colleen Hoover. She can get in the bin. Look, roll the intro screen so I can have a little cry for a bit. Now look, I had my issues with It Ends With Us, but on the whole, I thought it was fine. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just fine. It sat in the middle where a lot of books do. I kind of didn't understand the real vitriol that Colleen Hoover was getting, because one of the biggest issues I've seen with people raising with It Ends With Us was it's difficult because of the way that a lot of regular romance is done, but in that she actually had self-awareness in that one alone, trust me, because you're made to see Ryle through Lily's eyes and therefore see him as somebody who is objectively very beautiful, and you want him as she wants him, kind of thing. In the way that that's how romance works, you are meant to want the sort of romantic interest in the way that the main character wants that romantic interest. That's why romance works, right? But in It Ends With Us, that relationship turns sour, it becomes abusive, and I thought that worked in that case. Yes, there was nuance that she did not go into, and she kind of gave it as a, this is exclusively how relationships like this work. But trust me, it could have been worse. Also, what I didn't say earlier was how we're doing it today is I'm just kind of going through my notes. I've not even written a script. I sort of just want to ramble a little bit with this because it makes me feel good with this books like this. I just want to get it out there. Because, you know, with relationships like that, you don't go in hoping for that to happen. And you do miss red flags. And with that book, apparently not with any of her other books. Now, it is less the case in this one, but I've seen, to bring her up again, Elise's review of November 9th. You know, for a woman who has written 2 books about abuse and the after effects of that, you'd really think she would not fall into the trap of going, swoon, my sexy abuser, and yeah, I'll write a sexual assault scene that's meant to be a good thing with the romantic lead and the protagonist. However, objectively, the worst part of It Ends With Us was the end. So a sequel certainly feels like a choice. Right. So my biggest issue with the end of It Ends With Us was the fact that she'd mentioned that Ryle, the abusive ex-husband, was still going to get visitation rights, but unsupervised. Or it may not have been clear whether or not it was supervised. Go back and watch the TikTok video to give me views to find out. But I was like, oh, that's like a choice. I understood not going through with the legal process. For many abuse victims, it just doesn't work out in their favour. And someone like Ryle, who's got money, he's a neurosurgeon, so he is an upstanding member of society in the legal system's eyes, he would likely not face any repercussions for what he's done. So I understand not wanting to, and also just going through the legal system in general, you've got to basically bring back up all of your trauma. So I understood not going through that, but she could still have supervised visits, because she has full custody over the baby. She could insist on supervised visits. And even if she didn't go through the full legal process, during divorce, like one of the reasons for divorce, you can bring up abuse without it having been Like, you've been found guilty of doing this, and therefore, so like, why wouldn't you do that? So, the baby is alone with Ryle 2 days a week. Or it's meant to be 2 days a week, but because of his schedule, it's not always that. But 2 days a week, unsupervised visits. And I just, especially around the beginning of the book, it was very repetitive. Like, I nearly wrote the same note over and over again. It's like, why do you keep talking about this? Like, constantly. This is all in capitals, but I'm not going to shout. If you are still actively scared of Ryle, why do you allow your infant daughter, to be entirely alone with him 2 days a week? Colleen, please explain why you think this makes sense. And then I put a little sad face next to it. And then I wrote afterwards, like, there are things within Lily's kind of survivor brain that are going to make sense to her but not to others, and I recognise that as well. But some things don't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense from the point of view of why would Colleen write that down? My voice is going to crack so much. I know one of my bad rep book clubs, or just generally I know a book's bad when at least one of my friends gets the voice notes sent to them, because there's stuff that I generally just don't put in my reviews because it's just unnecessary, but it's stuff that I still want to get off my chest, and it's usually stuff that I'm kind of already been putting in notes, but I want to be able to voice them so I can see if it makes sense as I'm talking. Most of the time it does, because it's me and I'm a genius and I'm very smart and I'm always right. But I sent one particular voice note, couldn't tell you what it said off the top of my head, but afterwards they were like, are you okay? You enjoying this book? And I was like, hey, what makes you... I can't remember exactly what they said, like, right now. Again, I'm not looking at my phone, is my camera, and I'm stressed because this book gave me mild tension headaches. I don't think anything's ever going to hit after tension headaches, but it's on a level with, I'd say, like 50 Shades of Grey and Spanish Love Deception, of just, this is objectively bad, but it's not there with after. Now, if I read November 9th, I think that could be up there. After is one of the series that I will never touch a single sequel of. I will look at the 50 Shades sequels because they're bad, but there is something comical in how badly they're written. And same with Twilight, to be honest. And Twilight just feels kind of camp, honestly. But After, just incredibly triggering. But, like I said, there are things that make sense to me, but it's just, This is rambly, by the way. Like I said, none of this is going to be coherent, but reading this left me in a state of feeling utterly incoherent. Okay. Not much is said between us, but the non-verbal cues we're trading are saying enough. My eyes are apologising for my silence over the last 24 hours. He's silently telling me it's okay, and we're both wondering, what comes next? That's on page 36. So early in the book. About a tenth of the way through. Not even. No, just over a tenth of the way through. Maybe I'm just neurodivergent. I won't say I am autistic, but when I had my ADHD test, she did tell me to get tested for that as well. Once she'd been like, yeah, you've got ADHD, you've got the combined type, and you scored really high. You're also probably autistic. I'm like, ooh, good to know. So maybe it's just that. But, I know non-verbal cues exist. You wave to somebody, and that means hello or goodbye, and it depends on context, right? But my eyes are apologising for my silence over the last 24 hours. How? I didn't realise Professor X was in this fucking book. He's silently telling me it's okay. Again, how? Did his ears wiggle in a particular way and that went, it's okay, babe? Sorry, I missed out. That's what I was saying earlier. So I sent a voice note to my friend, and they were like, "You're not enjoying this, are you?" And I was like, "What gave it away?" And they were like, "The pitch of your voice," because I am actively pitching down my voice right now, because otherwise I would just start getting frustrated, and I'll start going up, and I'll start clipping. Because my voice hasn't settled yet. I have no idea if my voice has got like that much deeper. Like, since it first started really dropping. I don't know if it's ever going to get any deeper, but it certainly hasn't fully settled yet, because I keep getting the girls. Anyway. Oh god, yeah, the messages in this book, because listen, you can argue for It Ends With Us of the nuance wasn't there, but you can read into it a bit, and there's good general intent. The intent with this one, piss. Honestly, fuck knows what the intent with this one, other than giving fans what they want, and we'll get onto that fucking later. Because, listen, I'm just going to read straight from my notes here. Do you hear that, everyone? If you're a young teenager left homeless due to years of familial abuse, then the love of one girl can fix you. That's right, you can consider therapy when you're older, but right now, you're being fixed. Fixed, I tell you. You just need to be loved and have sex with the right person, and you won't feel traumatized anymore. And by the way, the therapist you can have when you're an adult is 12 years old, and it's meant to be a funny little bit, but it's not. It's fucking weird. I hate this book. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, I can feel the tension headache building up. It's like here, right at the top of my nose. Messages like that are like real prevalent throughout the book. This is such a case of I can fix him, or I can fix her, or I can fix them, or whatever. I don't give a shit. Just, I can fix you because we love each other and we've been through similar kind of trauma, so like we're perfect for each other, therefore I was like, wrong. Just because you fuck somebody and just because you love somebody doesn't mean you're fixing them. It just means you're in a relationship. What is wrong with you? We have more. I'm just reading straight from the notes. This is probably one of the most unhinged videos you're going to watch from me, because I finished this today and I realised there were other things I was supposed to be doing and I fucked up my schedule. So this is it. This is what you're getting. You're getting exasperated. Oh, there's a quote next. I brush my teeth just in case a hug is a kiss. And then I change clothes twice until I end up back in the pyjamas I had on when I FaceTimed him. I'm trying way too hard to look like I'm not trying too hard. Sometimes being a woman is dumb. Yes, sometimes the expectations on women to be over, done up and well presentable and all that sort of shit is kind of dumb. But Colleen, you know what else is dumb? You could have just left that last sentence off. Because men, this sounds like the most Twitter argument I'm ever going to make, but it does have that, like, feeling of just being like, oh, it's inherently feminine to want to look presentable for somebody that you're, like, into. Listen, maybe it's the pre-transition holding onto me, but no, if I'm into somebody, I'm going to make an effort. That's not inherently gendered, my guy. Oh, apparently at the end of this note I put a little star there. I think that's meant to be a gold star joke. Giving her a gold star for being a very clever woman. Oh, that sounded patronising. Oh god, have we got more fucking quotes? This is the most unhinged video I've ever done. Honestly, I don't care either. I'm having a great time. I don't even know if my phone's still on. My phone was like relatively low charge earlier, but I think I'm pretty close. Because I think these were notes I was making yesterday. Aww. Or I might have been making these notes today, but either way, I'm getting close towards the end, so who fucking knows? Bad Rep Book Club won't usually be like this. I prefer being structured, but I'm so tired. I'm tired of this book. This book has done me in. But I think this crush is a sign that Atlas might be able to give me back what my father and Ryle took from me. Hey Colleen, fuck off. Have you considered that? No, a good relationship will not erase the trauma that, like, actual abuse has given you. Why would you think, you know what can help? Because nothing's ever going to erase that, right? Trauma can't be fucking erased. You can be cured of something like PTSD, which I didn't know. I thought that was something that you sort of had to live with forever. But apparently, you can be cured of PTSD, which is incredible. But anyway, dealing with signs of trauma, even if it is not PTSD in particular, you're dealing with past trauma, right? Get fucking therapy, my guy. Do some journaling. Don't rely on a good relationship to treat the bad ones. Because, yes, the message she's going for here is that kind of people who have been in abusive situations, be it familial, be it romantic, people who've been in those situations often do not feel, especially if it's long term, as both of the both of the abusive relationships that she was a part of, they were long term, so that often leaves people feeling unworthy of any form of love, because the people that were supposed to love them showed them abuse rather than care, right? So I understand the message she's going for is this person has realised that maybe, in fact, they are indeed worthy of care. But just because a relationship has helped them maybe go, oh, okay, maybe I am worthy of this, that one relationship isn't going to make them feel like that forever. They're still going to have all the little fucking hang-ups in the back of their head going, what if this isn't real? What if they're still going to do what X person did, what Y person did? They're still going to feel like that just because they feel worthy of love now. Therapy, not fucking. Like, a relationship cannot heal trauma, and why do I have to keep saying this with these dog shit books? I have a possible video essay coming up talking about the way that abuse and the like is romanticised within mass market romance, and particularly a kind of the way it's very prevalent within young adult fiction, because both women and men are not taught how to avoid and not be a problem within toxic relationships. Be it they are not taught how to not be toxic, and they are not taught how to get out of and avoid toxic relationships, right? But in terms of girls, women, anybody who at least spent their teen years as a woman, the marketing for them is romantic fiction, be it explicitly romantic, is it in terms of that's what the central tenet of this book is, or if it's this book is about something else but a romance is a heavy feature. Books for girls almost always feature romance, and so much YA fiction features, and teen fiction as well. But as I was discussing in the Atlas 6 video, teen fiction and YA fiction, they're aimed at the same people. It's the protagonists that make the difference. Those books so often feature toxic relationships because they're written by adults, right? They're written by adults who had that shit fed to them. So they're feeding it to kids, and then they read that stuff, or they read fan fiction, which often reads in the same sort of way. Either it's adults putting that out, or it's other teens putting it out who don't know any better, and then they read that, they think that's kind of normal, and then they keep consuming fiction that's like that, so they never grow out of the fact that that's terrifying. And no, media doesn't necessarily turn us into monsters, but things do still sit up here, and it does shape us. You know, video games don't we went very northern then. Video games don't turn people into fucking killers, but there are still messages that are going to end up within our head, and especially, oddly, if they're not explicit, because I think, you know, you look at the video game thing and you get a teen who's maybe a bit young to be playing Grand Theft Auto, playing that. Generally, it's kind of not necessarily a this is what you want isn't Grand Theft Auto. This is a hey, isn't this mad and crazy world that you can be a part of for a bit? Whereas romance is meant to be a fantasy. This is what you're meant to want. This is what you're invested in to become. You see why it's bullshit? Anyway, back to the actual book. Yeah, I want to do a video essay about that at some point. Will it happen? Who fucking knows? Probably won't happen this year. I want to do it soon. I was talking about this because I was reading this book. Hushcam, brilliant streamer. Absolutely bloody love him. I brought up the fact that I was reading this book in his stream, and chat ended up going on a huge fucking tangent about Colleen Hoover, and then I was like, I have opinions on mass market romance, and especially the way they talk about teenagers, and he brought up some good points about the way the boys are taught about romance and as well, because I never had that experience. I didn't know I was a guy until I was 17. Sort of after the early stages of that, and at the end of the day, I'm still never going to have that authentic guy experience at that age. I'm never going to have come up a guy, and also I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because you know what, I was the most I'm not like other girls girl, and I'm terrified of the idea, but I probably would have been a nice guy, and that disgusts me. Anyway, back to the book. And let's get to the point of this book is fucking repetitive. Divorce hard. Divorce harder because baby. Still into Atlas. Conflicted about being into Atlas. Reasonable. Lingering struggles after multiple types of abusive relationships. Rinse and repeat. From beginning to end, with a few other bits thrown in occasionally that sort of make it interesting. And look, I know right at the beginning of the book that Colleen Hoover had this. Where the fuck have I put that book? Has it fallen off somewhere? Are you under here? Ah, you're down there. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. After the sort of regular dedication, you know, we've got this book is for the brave and the bold, and Maria Blalock. Apologies for that pronunciation error, possibly. But the actual... Oh, fall off then. The actual book doesn't start after that. We get this. Dear reader, this book is a sequel to It Ends With Us, and begins right where the first book concluded. For the best reading experience, It Starts With Us should be read second in the two-book series. Now, that makes sense. Somebody might see this and not know that it's a sequel, given the naming convention. Makes sense. That's fine. After releasing It Ends With Us, I never imagined I would one day be writing a sequel. Maybe you shouldn't have done. I also never imagined that the book would be received as it has been by so many. I can't imagine why they have either. I am so grateful to all of you who found Lily's story to be as empowering as I found my own mother's. Now, I understand that. Again, the first book didn't have nuance, but I understand why a lot of people would have fell in love with it. That book, compared to everything I've heard about the others, is the one where I sort of go, yeah, you know what, I kind of understand why you might like that. After It Ends With Us gained momentum on TikTok, red flag, I'm not saying every book that's been, like, brought up as a recommendation on TikTok is bad, but After It Ends With Us gained momentum on TikTok, I was inundated with requests for more Lillian Atlas. You should have said no. And how could I possibly deny a community that has changed my life? Like this. No. It had a well-rounded story. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Didn't need any more. That's how. This novel was written as a thank you for the tremendous support, and because of that I wanted to deliver a much lighter experience. Which is true. This is objectively not quite as heavy as the first one. It still features, of course it kind of has to, many of the same topics, but it's more an aftermath and trying to find the light rather than you're in the midst of it. Lillian Atlas deserve it. I hope you enjoy their journey. All my love, Colleen Hoover. I would never give you any of my love, Colleen Hoover. I wouldn't fucking dare. You know, the thing is, right? This book didn't need to be written. It's fan service. Pure fucking fan service. And the thing is, that can work sometimes. Sometimes, giving fans what they want can work. But, as many people have pointed out, this book feels like, Colleen Hoover's books feel like not only fan fiction, but they feel like Wattpad fan fiction. And this book doesn't feel like the first book. Because like I said, the first book, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad for me, it was fine. It fell into the nearly 90 books I read last year. I think it was like 85 or 86. I mean, technically it was a couple more than that, because I technically did read 2 more, I think. Yeah. And yeah, I technically read 2 at the end of last year, but like I put them on this year's list because they're going to have been reviewed this year. But the point is, 86 or 88, whatever it was, whatever we're classing, it kind of just fell into the milieu of it, and I didn't really think about it much. But then Colleen Hoover kept getting fucking mentioned to me. There's that one YouTube video, I think it's called like My Long-Standing Feud with Colleen Hoover or something like that. I haven't watched it yet, I've been meaning to, and after this I think I fucking might. Because I read the first one, and I'm not on TikTok, and I've just seen that like a lot of people either really like her or they really hate her. And then I saw like the tweets where it's like, Colleen Hoover's books are for people who didn't read Wattpad or they didn't read fanfiction when they were teenagers, and I didn't really get that all that much, to be honest. And I say this as somebody who genuinely didn't read fanfiction. I didn't ever care for it, and I like romance, but I've always found fanfiction, and this isn't... Why are there fireworks going on? It's like they're... Oh, hang on. It's the 7th. Why the fuck are there fireworks going on? Is there a different festival? I don't know. Who fucking knows? Anyway. Yeah, so it's like, oh, it's... like I said, I didn't read fanfiction when I was younger. I've always found it a little bit cringe. And not as a... I don't care if somebody else reads it, writes it, whatever that. But whenever I read it, I always feel like... Yeah, that's just not what these characters are like. I don't get it, personally. I've tried with different fandoms, and I've always just had this feeling in my chest of it feeling a bit like... This just doesn't feel like the characters to me, and it's never worked. But the thing with this book is it feels like fanfiction for It Ends With Us, and I'm checking if we're filming again. We are, but not for long. Right, we've got to run up, we've got to like speed the fuck up with this. So the point is, it felt like it feels like fanfiction for her own book, and it feels like she's just writing it by the skin of her teeth. She had the idea of, oh, I want to continue Lillian Atlas's lives and actually get them into a relationship, is what they deserve. Let's just write this by the skin of her teeth. It felt like she didn't have an actual plan here, and I don't know if she did, but it certainly doesn't fucking feel like it. Oh, fuck me. Yeah, so Lily and Atlas are having an actual proper conversation about what Ryle did to her. Like, she's actually detailing every time that he physically hurt her. And off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what happens in between her saying that and them doing what they're about to do. But she says this, a little bit of like awkward tension or whatever happens, and then they're making out. Like, they're not just kissing. This isn't like a gentle kiss. It's like, it's gonna be okay, or like a kiss on the forehead or cheek. Like, it's gonna be okay. No, they're like making out. There's tongues involved, and I'm like, yeah, that's when I want to be kissed. Hey baby, here's all my fucking trauma, and now kiss me. No. God, that's the most like peak emo shit. All the fucking, what's his face with the little femboy voice who's like Pierce the Veil, is it, or the other one, Sleeping with Sirens, whichever one of them it is, where it's like, I'm gonna kiss your scars and all that because I love all my teenage fans who are depressed, so they're doing shit to themselves. Oh, fuck me, that's what that felt like. I'm just going to read this from my notes directly, because I'm not going to try and quickly recount this scene. So, Lily and Atlas, they go back to Lily's after... It feels weird saying Lily, because that's the name of my fucking cat. They go back to Lily's after a wedding. One thing leads to another. Lily's in her underwear. Right? Then they're making out. Fine. They end up in her bed. Fine. He ends up with his hands in her underwear. Doing what you do. She ends up getting where she needs to get to. Right? Great. As she gets where she needs to get to, let's just, like, you know, bear in mind that it makes sense. She is still feeding at this point, but just breast milk everywhere. Listen, I'm not saying that isn't something that happens. I'm not that kind of, and I'm not like, ew, breast milk. I am saying that if I was a fan of Colleen Hoover and I'd been waiting to read that sort of fucking scene, and I'm sort of aware that the first time is always going to be something where it doesn't go where you think it does, because that's always how it works with romance fiction, with any sort of saucy content. The first time something happens and it doesn't go on for as long as it might otherwise have done. There's a cutting of tension. Usually something goes on outside. I remember in fucking Spanish Love Deception, because that was the last Bad Red Book Club that we did. Spanish Love Deception. And Elena Romas loves this shit, right? But the first time and something's happening and she's got her eyes closed and all that shit's going on, and then, ooh, there's something going on outside, right? Pulling of tension. And Elena Romas, I even said, even in that book, Elena Romas is really good at that. Colleen Hoover is not very good. You know what I don't want as a way to break tension? Tit milk. The fuck am I doing? I'm not getting paid for this. And finally, I want to end on trying to give her a compliment. So, the thing is, right, there's this character that's introduced. He is Atlas's younger brother who he didn't know about, and it's a whole story of how he's then basically trying to, because Atlas has a savior complex, so he saves Lily and he saves his little brother, and he's the ultimate hero, knight in shining armor, all that good shit, right? I get what this story is. I get what Atlas serves. It is for somebody who has witnessed abuse or has been a part of abuse and wants to feel like somebody can rescue somebody. I understand that fantasy. Right, anyway, getting on to the actual compliment. His little brother, rather, is written really well. He's about 12 years old, and she's really got it down, that kind of balance of somebody who's been traumatized as a child, who is, you know, when kids are traumatized, they have to deal with the fact that they end up maturing really quickly, but they're not actually mature because they're children. So that at the end of the day, they are scared little kids, but they have to do some growing up really fast. So they have to be really mature in certain areas, but there are other areas that they can't be because they're literal fucking kids. And she does that really well. She strikes that balance. Like I said, I'm doing this really quickly. I don't know if we're still filming. Are we? We fucking are. Right, let's go. So, to wrap this up, yes, this book absolutely deserves its bad reputation. And when I further read into Colleen Hoover's work, I will probably say exactly the same fucking thing. Spoiler alert on that. But it is what it is. Right, I'm going to quickly grab something. I was supposed to do this at the end of the other video that I filmed today, but I didn't end up doing it. And honestly, it doesn't really matter because I have a lot of other videos planned in the upcoming future anyway. I'm planned up till February now, but Persepolis. Ooh! Okay, I'm not going to get it out. I will talk about that when we... you know, fuck it, we can get it out now. I'm really fucking rushing through this. So, the intelligent and outspoken child of radical Marxists and the great-granddaughter of Iran's last emperor, Satrapi bears witness to a childhood uniquely entwined with the history of her country. Persepolis paints an unforgettable portrait of daily life in Iran and the bewildering contradictions between home life and public life. This is a beautiful and intimate story full of tragedy and humour, raw, honest, and incredibly illuminating. It is... is it graphic? Yeah, it is a graphic novel. I believe there has been a... oh, well, it says at the top now, major motion picture, so yes, there was a film made of it. And I believe there is a kind of regular novel. This is by Marjane Satrapi. Apologies for mispronunciation of that name. I will check that before I get to it. Let me know if there are any... so that will be... well, as you're seeing this actually, because I've had to film this a bit early, because the book's about to run out at the library. I mentioned that earlier. So as you're about to see this, you will actually probably see this within a couple of weeks. I don't know what's next. I won't be checking. Let me know in the comments below if you've read anything by Colleen Hoover, and we can form a support group. And let me know if there are any books that you have seen that you think deserve a video for Bad Rep Book Club, that you've seen massively, like, be it on social media, be it in traditional media, that everybody seems to fucking hate, and either you absolutely understand why and you want to see me suffer, or you don't really understand why and would like to see me explore that. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, oh, wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take care of yourselves. Never read anything by Colleen Hoover. And if you do, go to a library. Don't give her any money. Take care of yourselves. Right.